And standing by now to talk to us about what's going on in Washington is our good friend Bret Baier from your Fox News channel. Bret, I don't know if you heard the news there just a moment ago that Bill Thompson reported, but the job numbers are in for April, and the economy added 165,000 jobs, and they upwardly revised the numbers for February and March by another 114,000. That brings the jobless rate to 7.5%, the lowest it's been in some 4 years. I'm sure the administration will be spinning this today as very good news.
Sure, but as you know, 300,000 is kind of the mark that is treading water, and I think a lot of economists look at this and the number of people who have been out of the job market, and they don't see an economy that's chugging along. There are good signs in the revisions, obviously, and as you said, the administration will see a silver lining here. But in each of these job reports, there are also not so good signs, and I think there's some weary investors out there who are wondering where exactly the economy is.
Yeah, we talked about that because, I mean, there are people who look, and business people who look at it. The one thing business people don't like is uncertainty. And they have a lot of uncertainty about where we're going with debt, where we're going with deficit, how much Obamacare is really going to cost them. It's the uncertainty that causes people to be a little scared right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the word that pops up most often is uncertainty. And Obamacare is, even top Democrats have said that they really don't see how this implementation is going to happen. I mean, you had Max Baucus calling it a train wreck, and Senator Reid saying he agrees if it stands the way it is and they don't fix it, that it is a train wreck. I mean, it's got 17,000 regulations from HHS that people are trying to sift through and figure out how it affects them. So there's uncertainty definitively, but you look at the markets, however, and they've had a really good run, and businesses have had some upside on cash-wise. So there's a mixed bag.
Hey, Bret Baier, Benghazi's been in the news this week, mostly because of your reporting on Fox News and special report with the whistleblowers emerging for the hearings coming up. We had Cheryl Atkinson on yesterday, by the way. She said she sometimes feels alone covering this story. I'm sure you feel a little lonely sometimes, too. Do you think that these whistleblowers are going to be a game changer?
I do think that people start paying attention a little bit more. I think I commend to you, Steve Hayes has a good piece on the Weekly Standard, if you go to weeklystandard.com, about the talking points section. The House committees came out with that report, and it was lambasted by Democrats, but there were some really specific things in that report about Benghazi, the 5 committees, and one of them was the evolution of the talking points. Well, Steve got a hold of the actual talking points, the document as it evolved, and the marking through of how it evolved, and the writing in the margins, and how the different changes that were made in the deputies' meeting. And it's pretty stark to look at. So we're going to follow up on that today. I think more and more people will pay attention to it, and this hearing on Wednesday could be interesting. I mean, at least we're going to see and hear some people we haven't heard from before.
Well, what about this thing that we keep hearing? Because we have Victoria Tunsing on. I know she's been on your air many times. She was, I think, on again yesterday on your channel, saying, look, I've got these whistleblowers that want to come forward and testify, but I can't really represent them until State Department comes up with a plan that allows me to hear the classified information. And she said they're dragging their feet on that. And then you go to the administration, and you go to the State Department, you go to even the President of the United States. Oh, we don't know what you're talking about. What is the truth there?
So, I mean, just going through how she says she did it, she went through Darrell Iss's office. He sent a letter April 16th and then April 26th. Then we began to press and do more and more stories, and the president was asked about it. That next day, the State Department put out a letter saying who exactly they had to contact. And I guess she contacted them. And I think the process has been engaged. And I believe they'll testify. I think her client, another client, maybe 2 others are going to testify at that Wednesday hearing for Darrell Issa.
Bret Baier, one of the things that kept this story alive at the beginning were those special documentary reports that you would do on Friday evenings right after the story broke. And I understand I'm reading an interview with Peter Baier, editor-at-large from Fox News Channel over at Breitbart News, where you've got a special report scheduled tonight on another underreported story. Yeah,
the Kermit Gosnell, the abortion doctor in Philadelphia. This is a really chilling hour. And, we've covered this story. We didn't cover his arrest at the very beginning a ton, but once the story came out, we've been covering it. And it largely hasn't been covered by the media up until Kirsten Powers wrote a USA Today piece about it and kind of lambasted the media for not covering it. There could be a verdict today. We have an hour special, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, tonight that kind of lays out the whole thing and the history of Gosnell and this clinic. And, if you're pro-choice, pro-life, wherever you stand on the abortion issue, this is really a stunning hour of, it's just appalling.
We'll be tuned in to see that. Bret Baier,
can't wait to watch it,
always
Bret.
a pleasure to have you here on the Mornings on the Mall.
Happy to do it.
All right. Thanks a lot.